Welcome to Checkpoint. Yeah, it's your host again, Dr. Ifoma Eze, and I'm here bringing you another very wonderful episode of Checkpoint. Now, I always like to start by saying thank you, and thank you again for all that you do for us here at Checkpoint. Thank you for your likes, thank you for your shares, thank you for commenting on our videos, and most importantly, thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel. Now, because of all that you do, our message is reaching a wider audience. And for this, I am very, very grateful. Now, it's another time on Checkpoint, and you know how we roll. Please, I'd like you to begin to invite your friends, your relations, your associates, and your neighbors. Tell them that it is time for Checkpoint. We're going to be having a very swell time here today. So please invite your friends. Share this link everywhere on the groups you belong to. Share it with everyone that you know and let them know that it is time for Checkpoint. And at Checkpoint, you know we always bring you contents that equip, edify, and empower you to become the very best version of yourself. And that's all we do here at Checkpoint. And I'm sure that in today's episode, you'll find it very enriching and very insightful, and your life will be better for it. So please go ahead, invite your friends, your relations, your associates, your neighbors. Let everyone know it's time for Checkpoint. And I'll be right back after the break. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back. And today on Checkpoint, I'll be sharing with you something I titled Debunking Myths About Marriage. Debunking Myths About Marriage. Many people believe a lot of wrong things and false things and unrealistic opinions about marriage. But today I'll be sharing with you some of those myths that people believe that are really not so true, and what should be the right perspective towards it. You know, marriage is something that we met when we came to the earth and we will leave behind after we have left the earth. Marriage is an institution that God had ordained Himself, and it has been as old as civilization has been, as old as humanity has existed. And today I'll be sharing with you some basic myths that people have come to believe over time, which actually is not true, and there is no sound basis for such beliefs. So, are you ready for this? Yes. I know that some of them you might be very familiar with them, right? But some of them you may not be very familiar with them. But in all, will be debunking this myths and telling you what the right perspective is. Being a marriage counselor for so many years, almost 2 decades, I can tell you with a lot of guarantee what marriage is and what marriage is not, what is obtainable in marriage and what is also not obtainable in marriage. You know, many people understand the term of marriage, or they understand the concept of marriage, but they are not practitioners. They are not living that kind of happy marriage or healthy marriage or blissful marriage type. But today, somebody who is a practitioner of what she teaches is here to tell you what marriage truly is and what it is not. I'll be sharing with you deep insights, step by step ways through which you can overcome some of these myths and actually believe what is actually correct. Are you ready for this? All right, so let me share with you myth number one about marriage. Many people believe that being married is being settled in life. Being married is being settled in life. Many of us have heard the term, oh, I want to settle down. I'm praying to settle down. I want to settle down in marriage. Well, why many of us can just use that term to explain the concept of just being married, you have to know very importantly that marriage is not just about settling down, it's the beginning of a life together. Many people assume that, oh, once you say, I'm just going to settle down, and then you just, as soon as you're married, you just settle, and then everything is okay. There are no problems, there are no challenges anymore, you know, everything becomes perfect. That's really not true. You know, there's this concept that we got from Hollywood where we say, and they got married and they lived happily ever after. There is a truth to it in the sense that marriage is sweet and marriage is beautiful But then it's not just about settling down. That should not be where the story ends, you know. Most of our very lovely animations that we had as children growing up, you know, most of them ended with and they got married and they lived happily ever after. And we always assume that that is the end of the movie or the end of the story. But this is actually where the story begins. You have to be intentional about it. You have to understand that marriage does not end at the point of settling down, at the point of just the couple after the wedding. You know, after the wedding, then the work begins. After the wedding, then the marriage begins. So, being married is not being settled in life. You know, so people assume that it is one vision. You know, one powerful vision that you need to have. So you begin to have not the vision of I want to get married and then get settled and then that is it. See, after you are married, it is then that the work begins. And you don't have to trivialize this particular statement. It is very true that after you are married, that is when the work begins. In fact, let me put it in the right context. After you are wedded, that is when the real work of marriage begins. So don't assume that once you're wedded, well, the work is done, we are fine. It is time for us to just enjoy our lives. We have been settled. No, that is not settlement. That is just the beginning of the work because there are a lot of things you have to do in order to make sure that that marriage is thriving and the marriage is truly, truly working. All right. Having said that, let me share with you number two myth that we have to debunk about marriage. Number two is that once you are married and you are in love, you can never have conflicts. Once you are married and you are in love, you can never have conflicts. Let me tell you this truth. Hear me and hear me good. Every marriage will have conflicts from time to time. Conflict is not a proof that the marriage is turbulent. All right. So when we have conflicts because of course you and your spouse are coming from two different backgrounds. Both of you have two different experiences. Both of you are coming from have these two different ideologies. And because of that, there will be bound to be conflict. There'll be times when you both will not be able to understand yourselves. There'll be times when you both will not be able to agree on a particular subject matter. And in those times, we don't say that the marriage has gone bad because there are conflicts. So it doesn't mean that the you won't have conflicts, but conflicts will exist because you both of you have two different personalities. And because of your different personalities, there are bound to be times when both of you will not be able to agree on certain things. And when that happens, you should calm down and look for easy ways to resolve your conflict together. All right. Look out for easy ways for you both of you to agree on particular issues. It's important that you figure out how to resolve your conflict as a married couple. Don't resort to fighting or quarreling or abusing each other. No, you need to understand that the fact that there are conflicts means that both of you have two different working brains. One is not a dummy, one is not a robot. They are actual human beings who have different feelings, who have different personalities, who have different ideologies, who have different experiences in life and different belief systems. And because of that, there will be times when you will not understand yourself. So the fact that you are having conflict does not mean you are no longer in love. It simply means that you both should find out a loving way through which you can resolve your conflict and still have a blissful and a wonderful marriage. Nobody says you won't have conflict. It's a lie. In fact, it is unlikely. It is a blatant lie for somebody to say, "Oh, we've never had conflict in our marriage." No, it's not true. It's just that there are degrees of conflict. There are levels of conflict, and it's important that you don't um, have serious conflicts in your relationship because you assume, well, because you're in love, this should not be happening. And if it's happening, then something is wrong with us. That is actually not true. So you have to work on that and tell yourself we can do better and we can work through this conflict. All right, let me share with you number three. All right, number three, um, myth about marriage that we need to debunk is that marriage will solve all your problems. I've imagined a lot of people who are single. They're like, oh, all this is happening just because I'm still single. You know, the moment I'm married, every problem will be solved. It's a lie. It's a big lie. It's a myth. It does not, it's not true. There is no marriage on earth. I repeat that. There is no marriage on earth that can solve all your problems. As long as you're a human being, you have different ambitions, different desires, different cravings, different wishes and dreams. Believe you me, there is no marriage that will solve all your problems. Truth be told, marriage can solve some problems, right? There are some problems that can be solved in your marriage, but certainly not all. So don't make it look like, whoa, once you're married, all your problems will be solved and then you live happily ever after. Happily ever after is a reality. Don't get me confused. It's a reality. You can have a happily ever after, but there is no one marriage that can solve all your problems. You know, there'll be other problems that you may not be able to solve. There'll be other areas of your life that you may need help tackling or handling. There'll be other areas of your life that you may even need others to help you fix, but certainly it will not solve all your problems. It may solve some certain problems in some certain areas of your life, but it will certainly not solve all your problems. It is a myth, and we are debunking it today because you see somebody gets married to a wealthy person and like, woo, this person has no other problem. Listen to me, money is not the only problem that people have. People have other kinds of problems, other things that keep them awake at night, other things that keep them crying, other things that keep them worried. And that is why you have to know that getting married to a rich person is not all that. It will not solve all the problems. It will just solve some certain problems. Getting married to a kind person might solve some areas of the problem, but it cannot solve all your problems. You have to understand it so that you don't get to the point where you begin to put unnecessary and unhealthy expectations on anybody. You know that this person you are married to is not going to carry the weight of all your problems. This person can solve some certain problems, but not all your problems. So this will help you to understand and shape up your expectations so that your expectations can be realistic expectations, not unrealistic expectations. And this is very, very important if you must have a healthy marriage. You need to understand that the person that is coming into your life has ability to solve some problems, but certainly not all kinds of problems. All right, so let's talk about number four. Number four is similar to number three that we talked about. And number four myth is that your spouse will satisfy all your needs in marriage. So which Superman or Superwoman are you going to get married to? Or Wonder Woman that are you going to get married to that's going to solve all your problems, that's going to meet all your needs? See, they cannot satisfy all your needs. I understand that in marriage, there are needs that are to be satisfied. Okay, the husband has needs that he would satisfy for his wife, and the wife has needs that she would satisfy for the husband. But listen to me, there are needs that can be satisfied by your spouse, and there are needs that can never, ever be satisfied by your spouse. So, if you have self esteem problems, if you have need for self actualization, you will understand that while they may motivate you, while your spouse might encourage you, they will still not do that for you. There are things that you have to do for yourself. There are things that other people outside your marriage can do for you. You have family members who can fit into that category. A father in your life, a mother in your life, with your sibling, even a friend. All right, these are colleagues, bosses, superiors. These are different. There are different types of needs that these different people I just mentioned are meant to feed, to satisfy and take care of in your life. But your spouse will not be able to satisfy all your needs. They can satisfy some. There are some that they will not have to be the ones to satisfy. Let me say this, and you need to understand this, that in marriage, you cannot overburden your spouse. You cannot come to the point where you're making your spouse feel like, oh, what did I get myself into? I shouldn't have started this in the first place. Why am I the one that has to bear all of this burden? Listen to me. Understand this. Your spouse can satisfy some of your needs, but there are needs that your spouse cannot satisfy. Let me give this for example. There are times that I, as a person, I have this craving. All right, I'm always craving for knowledge, so I'm always trying to learn new things. I'm always trying to acquire more knowledge, and that has taken me to several universities. After my first degree, I've been able to have other programs, degree programs from other 4 or 5 other universities. And while my husband is a very wonderful husband and spouse, he's not the one who I expect to satisfy my need for more learning. All right. While I learn from him on a daily basis. And in fact, yesterday, that was Sunday, we preached a very powerful message. I was able to learn a few things, especially with the illustrations he gave and the examples he gave, and new words too that I had to check up in the dictionary. He inspires me. But beyond that, there is still this need to learn other new things. There is still this need to engage in further study, and this is not something he can do for me. So I am striving hard to enroll into this institution, study, have other colleagues at school, other fellow classmates who I study with. And with all of this, I'm able to satisfy that need for more learning without getting him involved. So this is just one out of all several needs that we can use as examples. So for your in your own marriage, you may know what it is that is peculiar to you. What is that need that you have, and you have looked at your spouse, and you know in your heart that even if you like carry your spouse up and throw him or her down, they can't do this, all right? It's not for them to do. So don't burden them with all of that roles and those responsibilities. You go ahead and do what you know that you need to do for yourself, for your well-being, so that you can increase in value, so that you can increase in worth. And this is very, very important. Your spouse will not be able to satisfy all your needs. Yes, your spouse is meant to satisfy some needs, but certainly not all your needs. Is that okay? All right. So let's talk about number five. Number five myth that we need to debunk about marriage. Number five myth is the myth that once you are married, marriage will work itself out. I know that there are people who believe that marriage works on autopilot, but let me bust your bubbles. Marriage can never, ever work on autopilot. Marriage is not meant to work on autopilot. If you are married, there is something that you have to do in order to have a blissful marriage. If you're married, there is something you have to do in order to have a healthy marriage. And a healthy marriage does not come by chance. A healthy marriage does not come just because you are married and then everything begins to fall into place. It doesn't work like that. If you want to have a healthy marriage, you want to have a blissful marriage, listen to me. You have to understand first and foremost that marriage will never work itself out. It does not work on autopilot. There is something to do. Many people assume always that my husband and I we have a very loving and thriving marriage simply because my husband is a bishop and I'm a pastor. So they assume, well, there's a lot of spirituality going on there, and because of that, their marriage will be sweet. But let me tell you the honest truth. Our marriage is sweet, is healthy, is blissful, simply because we both know what our roles are and we are fulfilling those roles. Let me say this again. We both know what our roles are and we are fulfilling those roles. We know what is expected of us. We know what we are supposed to do and we communicate. In times when your spouse may not know or may not understand how you feel, we communicate and let your spouse know this is what I want, this is what I don't want, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, this is what I appreciate, and this is what I don't appreciate. That way, your spouse will know how better to serve you because marriage never works on autopilot. You want to have a good marriage, you have to work it out. You have to intentionally and deliberately do something about it because on its own, it will never work. You have to know what it is you're supposed to do. There's this common saying in our society here where they say, "What are you bringing to the table?" You need to know what you are bringing to the table, all right? Because there are lots and lots of things that you need to bring to the table to make sure that the marriage works. Let me say this very importantly. Many people assume that marriage is a house that furnishes itself. No, marriage is an empty house. If you come into that empty house and you desire to have a flat TV screen, then you have to go out and purchase the TV screen and bring it into your house and then put it on and have to enjoy it. You don't automatically enjoy the TV because you're in the house. No, after you have bought the house, after you have rented the house, you have a responsibility to furnish that house one after the other. In the same way, when you are married, after you are married, you have a responsibility to furnish that marriage, to make that marriage to work. Let me say this, very, very important, that any farmland, all right, any farmland that is left uncultivated will grow the rankiest weed. Let me say it one more time. Any farmland left uncultivated will grow the rankiest weed. If you want to harvest crops inside that farm, you have to intentionally go out and plant the crops that you want. You have to plant it and then water it and then weed it and then prune it when necessary and until it's harvest time. Then you can harvest it. That's the only way you can have something worth of value from that farm. But if you want marriage to work, believe me, you have to intentionally and deliberately do something in order to make it work. Because on its own, it does not work. This one does not turn on its own. It does not work on its own. You have to make it work. So marriage on itself, by itself, does not work itself out. There is something to do in order to ensure that that marriage is good and thriving and blossoming. Is that okay? All right. So let's talk about number six. Number six myth that you need to debunk. All right. We're going to debunk it right now so that you stop believing that. Number six myth is that married couples should be the only friends of each other. That married couples should be the only friends of each other. Listen to me, the fact that you are married, right, should make your spouse your best friend. I absolutely agree with that. My husband is my best friend. I am the best friend of my husband. We share everything together. We talk about everything. Our gist never ends, you know. Whenever we're together, there's always something to talk about, right? So we laugh about everything and anything, you know. Little things make us laugh. We share a lot of laughter moments together. But even at that, your husband or your wife should not be your only friend. There should be other friends in your life. They may not be at the same category with your spouse. They may not be your best friend. They should not be your bestie, but then you should make sure that you have other friends in your life. This creates for a wholesome uh, lifestyle. It creates some kind of mental stability where you have other people in your life who also care about you and who you also care about. That way, you would be able to have a very broader mindset to life. All right, you have a broader viewpoint concerning anything it is you are doing or going through at the moment. So it's important that you have other people in your life. That way, you don't become overbearing on your spouse. One thing you have to know about marriage is that you have to grow up to that point where you're able to give your spouse some breathing space, okay? Some space to breathe, some space to be who they have to be, who they need to be. All right. Some of us are so suffocating. The fact that he is married to you does not mean you should suffocate him. The fact that she is married to you does not mean you should suffocate her. Every married person needs space from time to time. And this space is not because you are quarreling. This space is not because both of you are not understanding each other. This space is not because both of you are no longer compatible. This space is because they are human beings who have other needs, other wants, other dreams. All right. So marriage is an essential part of our lives, but it should not be all of our lives. And this is why I am emphasizing on this marriage myth number six, that once you are married, that married couples should not be the only friends of each other. You should also have other friends from outside work, from outside your job, from outside your school, from outside your family, all right? People who would understand you, people you can share your ideas and your dreams with. That way, you'll be able to have a well-rounded approach to life. Okay, so I know that I've been saying a lot of things in this video. So please share with me in the comment section. In fact, even if you decide to disagree with me, it's still okay. Just share your own viewpoint in the comment section. Let me see what let me read from you and also see what I can add to what I already know on this video. I'm just sharing with you myths about marriage that we have to debunk. If you have a different perspective to it, it is very welcome. Please go ahead and share in the comment section. If you also have the same perspective and you want to add to the comments, or you think there is an aspect of this myth that I have not covered, please go ahead and share with me in the comment section. I would like to read from you. Once this video is done, I'll read from you and I will respond to all the messages. Is that okay? All right. So let's move on at this point. Let's talk about myth number seven. Myth number seven that we are going to debunk today is that if your spouse loves you, they should also always know what is in your heart. All right. If your spouse loves you, they should always know what you are thinking, what you are feeling at time because they love you. All right. So because they love you, there should be this telepathic stream that gets to them. All right. There is a telepathic ring that alerts them to what you are feeling or what you need part time. So listen to me. To be truthful, to be honest with you, your spouse may love you so very much, but they will not even have a clue as to what you need at any time. When I got married earlier, I used to have a lot of these assumptions, because I know my husband really loves me. I'll just assume, didn't you know that I wanted this? Didn't you know that I needed this? I even gave you signs. I even told you this. I even said this stylishly, but you do not understand me. Listen to me. You have to learn communication. Communication in marriage can be verbal or non-verbal, but whichever way it is, it has to be clear. The intentions, the message, the vehicle through which the message got to you, it has to be clear. And then the feedback should be able to give you a clue if the person you are trying to communicate with is understanding it or not. And you will understand, agree with me that you both just got married. And after a while, it will take some time for both of you to understand each other's language, especially the body language, because both of you have not been together before then. All right. So it will take some time for he to understand your body language, for she to understand what you are trying to say without saying it. This takes time. As you begin to get married and as you begin to stay married and get bonded over time, you'll discover that it becomes easier because he has come to understand your temperament, he has come to understand your signals, she has come to understand your signals and the way you express your feelings. And with that, it becomes easier communication wise. But see, if your spouse loves you, there is no way they can read what is in your mind because they're not mind readers. They are just in love. That's all they did. In fact, let me say this, that's the only offense they committed. The only offense they committed was to be in love with you. And the fact that they're in love with you does not mean that they should be able to read your mind or know what's going on with you or know how you are feeling part time. You have a job, you have a duty to communicate your feelings to your spouse. Don't say, oh, he should know I'm sad. He should know I'm not feeling well. He should know I'm this. Tell them what you want. Tell him what you want. Tell her what you want. Don't make assumptions. This has destroyed a lot of marriages because you begin to call your spouse insensitive, intolerant, stuff like that because you did not do what you were supposed to do. But listen to me, your spouse is not a mind reader. Your spouse only loved you. And in loving you, they did not commit any crime. Okay, so because they love you does not mean they will know what is going on in your mind at every given time. Do them the courtesy, do them the favor of communicating to them appropriately what you need, what you want, how you are feeling per time. Don't assume that they would automatically know what's going on with you. Is that okay? All right. So let's move on. I hope you are getting some insights into what we are sharing. Let's talk about myth number eight. Myth number eight is that your marriage will be sweeter if you are married to someone else. Let me say this one once again because it seems like I am dialing somebody's number. Okay, you assume that your marriage will be sweeter if you are married to somebody else. In fact, this happens to some people who are already having issues in their marriage, they're having some form of conflict in their relationship, and they are assuming that peradventure, if they were married to somebody else, like the guy next door or the lady down the street, that they won't be having this kind of problems. Okay, if they marry that kind of guy in church or that kind of sister in church, they won't be having this kind of problems. But let me tell you the truth, whatever is causing problems or challenges between you and your spouse will also cause challenges between you and somebody else. You see, the grass is not greener elsewhere. The grass is only green where it is properly watered. And when you water your grass, it gets greener. In the same way, if you are in a relationship, in a marriage, please do all that you can to work things out with the person you are married to. Don't say, oh, I just met this lady last week and she has changed my life. I wonder, I don't understand why I did not meet this lady before I married my current wife. I don't understand why I did not meet this kind guy before I got married to my husband. So listen to me. Those words can destroy you. Those words can spoil things for you. The grass is not greener elsewhere. Your marriage will not be sweeter when you are married to somebody else. It's just a myth. You have to work out whatever it is in you, whatever it is that you need to work out in order to have a good and a blossoming marriage. You see, sometimes we think that the problem is usually the other person, but sometimes the other person is not the problem. It could be an attitude of us. It could be something that we are doing. We keep doing it and over again. In as much as I know that there are women who are professional naggers, okay, they can nag for Africa, they can nag for the continent, they can nag for the globe, and that's not good. Nagging is by no means good. But check out a nagging wife. There must be something that she is actually complaining about. So sometimes husbands are very quick to call their wives nagging wives, but you forget that there is something you are doing, an action that is triggering the reaction of nagging. So nagging is sometimes a reaction, okay? For some people, it's an action, but for some others, it's a reaction to something that your spouse is doing. So this nagging can come from males or from females. It's not a female trait. Even men can nag. Now, when your spouse is nagging about a particular thing, please settle down and find out what is it that he is nagging about. What is she nagging about? What is that thing that is making them to complain? And then work it out. Don't just fold your hands and say, oh, well, they are always nagging. Oh, they are always complaining about something. And you just assume, well, it can't be my fault. That is the behavior of a narcissist. A narcissist will never own up their own role in a problem in a marriage. They can never own up to the role they are playing in that problem that they are having in their marriage. So they would always make it about the other person. They would always assume, oh, it's not me. It can never be me. I'm the perfect one. I'm the one without fault. But it is not true. You have to understand this. And when you understand this, it will help you to have a better marriage. So, what am I saying in essence? Your marriage will not be sweeter if you are married to the other person. Your marriage will only be sweeter if you do what you have to do to make sure that the marriage is working. It does not, it's not does not function by autopilot. You have to work it out. You have to do something about it to make sure that it is working. Is that okay? Did you get that? All right, capiche. All right, let's talk about number nine myth. Number nine myth. About marriage. I was going to debunk every myth that we mentioned. Remember, we talked about the myth number one. We said that being married is being settled in life. That's not true. We said number two, that once you are married and you're in love, you can never have conflict. And we're able to establish that that is not true. We also talked about number three myth. We said that marriage will solve all your problems, and that is a lie. All right, we talked about myth number four. We said that your spouse will satisfy all your needs in marriage, and that is absolutely not true. We talked about number five myth that once you are married, marriage will work itself out. We said that is also not true. We also talked about number six myth. We said that married couples should be the only friends of each other, and we said nah to that. And then we talked about myth number seven. We said that if your spouse loves you, they should always know what is on your heart and your mind. And we said, no, that is absolutely not true. And we talked about number eight myth. We said that your marriage will be sweeter if you are married to someone else. And we said it is absolutely not true. You have to make your marriage work. Don't keep looking at the marriage of other people. Other people are having a blossoming marriage, a blissful marriage, simply because they are putting in the work that is necessary. Marriage is work. And if you want your marriage to work, you must work it out. Somebody said some time ago that marriage is for foolish people. You have to be a fool for the person that you love. And honestly, there is some element of truth in it. If you are too wise, you will not enjoy marriage, because you'd always keep insisting on your right. You always keep saying, oh, this is my right, this is what I'm supposed to get, this is my portion, this is my boundary. Sometimes you just have to let go. Compromise is always encouraged in marriage. It is in marriage we encourage people, married couples, to live in compromise with each other. You cannot always be right. Sometimes you should be wrong for the sake of the other person, right? You should be wrong for the sake of your spouse. Sometimes you should be the one to play the fool, act the fool. All right. So for peace to reign, there are lots of things that you have to do to make your marriage work, and it's not dependent on marrying another person. This is why when people get divorced, most people who are divorced for the second time, they have a tendency to be divorced for the third time. Research has it that when somebody gets divorced a second time, the likelihood of the person getting divorced a third time is there, because whatever it is that made the person break up from that first marriage, break up for the second marriage will definitely make the person break up from a third marriage, because that's it research wise, because what you are running from may be in you, and that you keep running away and hoping that somebody else is nicer. In fact, I've experienced this during my counseling um, sessions. You see, a particular husband comes and he's complaining about his wife. He's telling me all the things that are wrong about his wife. And then, in the course of counseling the wife and trying to make things, amend things between them, he'll be like, "Oh, you have so much understanding. I wish I was married to you." I'll be like, "What?" Listen to me. You may not enjoy me as a wife if you're married to me, because we may not agree on certain things. So the fact that advising your wife and telling her exactly what she needs to do or how she needs to amend her ways does not mean that ultimately I'm going to make a better wife for you. Okay? That's not how it works, because our temperaments might be different and you may not be able to even handle my guts. It takes a lot to be able to be married to a great woman. And if you see any man who is marrying a high flyer of a woman, please go wherever he is and give him a warm handshake, because he is doing a lot of good work in order to make sure that that marriage is working. All right, so let's go into number 9 myth about marriage. So, number 9 myth about marriage is that love is all you need to make your marriage strong and healthy. It's not true. Love is not all you need for a strong and healthy marriage. In fact, love is just one of the things that you need for a strong and healthy marriage. It's just like when you want to cook a goosey soup or okra soup, you don't just say, "Oh, because it's a goosey soup, all I need is a goosey." Is that true? No. If you put a goosey inside the pot, no matter how many times you turn it, it will not turn to a goosey soup. In the same way, if you put okra inside the pot, no matter how many times you turn it, only okra cannot make okra soup. There are other ingredients that you have to add to the egusi, and you have to add to the okra in order to make sure that it becomes an egusi pot of soup or an okra pot of soup. In the same way, love is not all that you need to make your marriage work. You have to intentionally and deliberately bring in other things: trust, all right, tolerance, okay, sacrifice that comes with marriage. There's a lot of other things that you have to bring into marriage. Understanding of covenant rules, what it is you're supposed to do, what it is you're not supposed to do, all right, boundaries, and then love. Love cannot be the only thing. You also have patience. You have to be patient with the person you are married to. Understand that this person is coming from a different background, might not think like you, might not behave like you, but you actually do love them, all right? But love alone is not enough to make sure that your marriage is blossoming and fine. You have to add some other things to it. So love is important. Love is key. Love is necessary, but love cannot be the only thing that you need to make your marriage work. You need to add in some other ingredients to make sure that your marriage is working. So to your love, add patience. To your love, add tolerance. To your love, add sacrifice. To your love, add trust. To your love, understand what your covenant rules in marriage is. The husband should love, the wife should submit. When you understand this and put a proper balance to all of them, then and only then will you be able to have a strong and healthy marriage. And finally, number 10 myth I'd like to share with you today is that romance is automatically sustained as long as the married couples are in love. Romance is automatically sustained as long as the married couples are in love. That is a myth. All right. Romance does not just happen for a marriage just because that the both of you are in love. You're in love, I understand. You're in love, that's good. But beyond your love, you have to spice it up. All right. Just like you have food in the fridge, but you can't eat that food cold. For you to enjoy that food, how do you enjoy it? You have to warm it up. You have to spice it up, all right, for you to be able to enjoy it. In the same way, you have to spice up your marriage. Intentionally go out of your way to find ways to put a smile on the face of your spouse, to make your spouse smile, to make your spouse happy, to make your spouse dance, to add some ginger and some spice, some excitement to your marriage. Marriage is beautiful. Marriage is wonderful. It is a wonderful thing to be married, but you cannot have a beautiful marriage automatically. There are things you have to do in order to make sure that the marriage is sweet, wonderful, and blossoming. Romance is key. And in case you're wondering, what have you done spice up your marriage? I have another video on romance, on rekindling the romance in your marriage. Please go to my YouTube channel and find a full video on how to improve the romance in your marriage. And by the time you do this, you have a very sweet and loving and wonderful marriage. Until I come your way again, keep making a positive, indelible mark in the lives of people and on the sands of time. Bye bye for now. Mwah. I love you. Hi everyone, I hope you are blessed by that message. All right, so I want you to just go ahead and support us. If you are led, go ahead and just sow into the account right on the screen. And I know that as you do that, God will bless you big time. Because of the seeds you are sowing, we'll be able to reach a wider audience on different platforms. So please do well to sow that seed and God will bless you. Love you.